I'm all yours, and I think you had questions for me, and there are things that I didn't cover in terms of the introduction about who I am, and I maybe will pick to talk about things that I've done that I think are relevant for the present and the future. And I'm coming right off of a very big event, which is the 57th anniversary celebration of the Centro Legal de la Raza, which, along with other law students at the University of California at Berkeley Law School, we set up in the Fruitvale of East Oakland. Very proud, and we're very proud of what the work they're doing right now, and that they could celebrate the 57th. So I've been in the Bay Area 57 years, and I did things that before that we could talk about if you like, but that's your choice.
Mm,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Buenísimo. Am, bueno, am, vamos a comenzar la entrevista. Este, como es costumbre, para que nos diga, para que la gente sepa acerca de usted, de su vida, de su background y bueno, su trayectoria.
Claro,
Entonces,
como gusta.
sí. Entonces, tell us about yourself and your trajectory from the time that you remember to the time that you participated in the creation of Centro Legal de la Raza.
Going way back. We're way back to
Te lo estoy llevando
uh,
desde que venga de la
and
universidad y me diga
I'm
cómo.
the a son of people who were raised in the Sierra Madre, and Durango, Biat. Durango is the state, and Durango is the capital where I was born. But they're from Los Corrales via Tepehuanes. So Tepehuan Indians probably were attenuated in terms of the number of generations that were going back to the original roots, indigenous roots that influence that hasn't affected me quite a bit. And we, I lived there just my early youth. And as far as health is concerned, I look back on it now. Do remember where uh, I witnessed the thunder and lightning striking a man right in front of me, and I was in the Saguan in the just in a garden area, and I always remember that, and that's one of my earliest memories. So, health and the death of somebody that got their life taken by the natural force, I remember very, very vividly. We moved from Durango, and also Durango is very much known for the scorpions or los alacranes. And the alacran from Durango, when it stings, it's a fatal sting many times. And that's because of the iron and the chemical makeup they have for the poison that when they do strike. I moved to Tijuana, and in Tijuana, I turned three and almost 4 years old. And during that time, there were also health issues that my mother faced, I faced, that we all faced. We lived in the Rios there in Tijuana. So we had a very challenging life. And my father was a hard worker. But having been bracero, there was a provision in the law that allowed a bracero to be able to regularize their status in the U.S. to become a permanent resident alien, whatever that means. So we stayed there in Tijuana for 1 year, and I became I turned 5 years old when I came across San Isidro and into California, and then I was raised in California. I still live here, and I've gone through a number of stages. The first place we lived was in Santa Barbara, California, and at that time it was just barely coming out of the segregated schools. I don't know if people were aware. This would be in about 1951 that the schools in Santa Barbara, here in Oakland, in many parts of Alta California, as well as parts of the other parts of the nation. Worse even other parts of the nation, but it was here too. There were segregated schools. So before me, uh, they just stopped sending people to the Mexican schools. They allowed them to go to the other schools. So if you ever want to find out where the most black and brown kids in a neighborhood, ask for a Lincoln High School, a Lincoln School. So I went to Lincoln School, and they said, "Well, you can't speak the language, can you?" Oh, no, of course not. And even in first grade, I still didn't speak the language. So in first grade, they decided that I had the same problem that my parents had, which they can't speak the language. So this got to be something wrong. So even the label isn't used that much anymore, but it still exists. I was considered retarded. So I was retarded and did a second year of first grade. But then I moved, and I moved to a school district. They didn't know I was retarded, quote unquote, retarded. And I was a very good student. I continued to be a good student throughout all those years in that small town. And this town is called Tehachapi, California. It's near La Paz, which is where the headquarters of the United Farm Workers is now. It used to be when I was growing up, it was Keene, and they had a tuberculosis facility there. That was what maintained that little town. And then the land that was owned by somebody that I think was in Hollywood that owned the land donated it to the farm workers. So I went to that, then graduated, and I went to UC Santa Barbara. And UC Santa Barbara, I was told then by my counselor, though I had some really good teachers that were not racist, basically, to put it simply. They wanted you to learn and to be as good a person as you could possibly be. But I had counselors that would tell me, well, why do you think you can do well at UC when University of California when all of our even our best students don't make it there? Well, I thought I was the best student. But that put me in my place, and I think we've all had an experience where you get put in our place many times. So, as a quote unquote imposter, I went to UCSB. And at the time, and I think this is important perhaps for other questions that you might have, there were no Mexicans enrolled that would identify as Mexicans, and there certainly were no groupings. So you would say that UCSB in 1965, there was zero. One. Mexican that identified. This is a campus then of about 14,000 students. And everybody thought it was a party school. So if you go there, and it still is a party school, actually. But it's also distinguished itself in other ways. And okay, I will mention we organized. There were enough of us to organize, and we created the United Mexican American Students Organization. That was when I was a junior, going my end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, and I met a number of people from throughout the state that were part of the movement, and the movement was the Chicano movement. We were enough that there were enough of us to be able to form an organization and to make our needs known, and also demand that we get the respect that we needed and we thought we weren't getting adequately, which is not to say that it was a totally bad experience where we were not succeeding. Many of us were succeeding, but we weren't really recognized. And so out of that movement, we finally decided we become more assertive of our identity to demand what we wanted and needed, which is more students. So we went out and recruited students. We had the educational opportunity program. It was fairly new, and it began to concentrate on bringing not only African Americans but also Mexicans and a lot of other people. And so we finally got organized to where we formed my senior year, which was a very tempestuous, very. This is the time of civil rights movement. This is the time of worldwide things were in going through change for lots of reasons. Um, the church was changing. Pope John the 23rd had the Vatican Council, for example. So the church was changing.
Yeah.
The Olympics in 1968 in Mexico City, the the runners that put their arms up to this racism will stop, and they pay a price for that, but they they asserted themselves. So we assert ourselves, and we demanded an admission at UCSB of 500 Chicanas, as well as Chicano Studies and the Chicano Studies um, uh, Center that was able to create research programs and do other things that it's done all the way along to the present. As a matter of fact, UCSB now is one of the only universities that has a Chicano Studies PhD. And I remember it was when that happened. Dolores Huerta was the keynote speaker, and but we went a long ways. And but in that year, we didn't go that. We were just it was rhetoric, and in a way, it was rhetoric. But we were writing things down that we thought we needed, and all the campuses throughout CSUs, the UCs, and so forth established programs and began to do things that they had done before. And we had a group gathering called the Plan de Santa Barbara. And for those that haven't seen it or whatever, there were debates between people about some people were more third worldish like, and other people were more nationalistic and so forth. But we knew that we wanted much better for our people and that they were not being respected and were being left out. So that document and that set of discussions and that whole movement of Soy Chicano is what made me want to do what I had to do. And so from there, I went to Berkeley, 1969. And the idea we had in the Brandes de Santa Barbara was to have students be in the community, working with the community to better and to make more equal and more humane the conditions in which people live. So I wound up working in the Fruitville of East Oakland and with a legal center that we set up. So that's my quick update. I got to where I got to.
Muy importante, muy importante. Entonces, estaba en el UC Santa Bárbara y fue durante su estudio en Santa Bárbara o se graduó cuando comenzó vamos a decir, perdón, es que el overwhelming con el humo. Este, mm, reformulo la pregunta.
Diga.
Si fue después que se graduó que comenzó a ver cómo comenzó, cómo fue su incursión en eso que se denomina Centro Legal de la Raza, cómo fue la creación de eso.
Y,
Dígame.
y yo también, adding on to that question, what made you wanna go to law school?
Okay. Well, I hadn't really thought about it, just like most people in undergraduate schools, and I decided I like history. I like political science, and I like economics. All those areas quite a bit. So I started looking at what would be the best alternative for me, and we had a lot of interaction really with the administration there at UC Santa Barbara. And I could see what administrators could do as well as people that were in the political science department who were lawyers that were teaching uh, political science that included political philosophy. So I really got to like political philosophy a lot. And more than anything, I want justice for our people. I was able to study more about the schools that I started in at Santa Barbara, and I found that even though we'd gone from Santa Barbara, schools had gone from being segregated at one point, which is the worst, I guess, worsening than where I started, but they never really did very well, even when they weren't segregated. They were not producing the uh, the results that we needed to be able to be in the pipeline to get into the schools that were there. And at that time, the state legislature actually had a real commitment. They had a plan for everybody to be able to get an education despite the economics. And so, I mean, I paid, I think, $65 in fees for my first year, my freshman year at UC Santa Barbara. And then we had Reagan. We had Ronald Reagan as governor. So the first thing he wanted to do was to impose tuition on students at UC. And he did that. He won. We opposed it. We marched. We did what we had to do to try to let them know that wasn't what is needed. The higher plan for higher education should be for everybody. And there were legislators, I believe that very strong legislators by the name of John Vasconcelos, for example, out of San Jose. He was a shaker and mover, and he got things done. But as time went along, and as time has moved along, the amount of money that the state legislature, state tax money that it puts in to support the university has gone down and went instead to the prisons, among other things. So that's where we're living still today. That's why I don't know what the percentage is, but I think it was something like 10% or 15% of the budget of the university is from the state. And so when I started, there were new campuses, and it was about 89% funded by the state. So that's the Third World Liberation Front at Berkeley. I think is the most politically significant movement that the campus has had, even greater than the free speech movement. I came to UC Berkeley after the free speech movement had already begun. People's Park. I lived just a block away from People's Park. So my first year of law school, I always went to class with tear gas, tear gas shaking out of my clothes. I wasn't doing it. I wasn't because I was demonstrating. I was just trying to get to class, but they didn't want to get to class. But the university was changed a lot. University of California, Berkeley. San Francisco State had a very historic, long-lasting, uh, last longer than the Berkeley stripe, and they changed USF, SFU quite a bit, and the person they put there as chancellor was completely against what we. He's more like what we have now in the upper levels of administration, or the administration all the way to the federal level. Very right wing, very anti. Um, he was going to show them. He's going to show us our place. The ones that spoke out got put in jail, got eat up. So, but it changed the university a lot more than I think people realize anymore. Because they don't talk about it. I don't hear it mentioned as often. But Chicano studies came into being at Berkeley, but there's supposed to be a third world college. That was the objective. That was the demand, and it was not met. It was always put into outside the College of Letters and Science and into its own small units, and it's still at Berkeley still that way. Santa Barbara has done, I think, a little better, and other campuses, the UCLA finally, I guess, did better. So that was good, and the numbers began to change. Now that you have the numbers in the what is this? Hispanics serving institutions, that's 25%.
Yeah.
You have to get that number. And of the UC campuses, I think there are 6 of them. I think Santa Cruz, San Diego,
Berkeley.
Davis, I think.
Urban.
Berkeley was close to it, but not nearly at 25%. And talk about, numbers. Look at Merced. Do you know what the number of the percentage is in Merced?
It had to be higher.
It's about 60%.
Wow.
Yeah.
60% left. So I've lived through a period as it has to do with university from going from what I thought was 0 to those numbers. And being part of that, I would probably be part of that. And being part of that to me meant going to the community to do service for the community, even while I was in law school. I was in still soon. And that's how I got involved with the Centro Legal de la Raza.
O sea que ya el Centro Legal de la Raza existía antes de que usted no lo fundó. Es decir, era una organización que existía previo a usted.
No.
¿No?
No creamos
¿Cómo fue eso? Es
es
como un
creación
grupo de
con la
estudiantes.
comunidad, gente en la comunidad, con los estudiantes que estaban aprendiendo más acerca de cómo usar la ley. Y yo decidí usar la ley más bien para asuntos de salud que la desigualdad, the inequality that existed in the flatlands of Oakland at that time. 1969 was enormous. And so that was that was injustice, and that's what I wanted to do something about.
Pero puede ser un poquito más específico. ¿Cómo fue que se reunieron unos estudiantes para crear un centro con la comunidad? ¿Cómo fue eso que se crearon así nada más y se reunieron? ¿Cómo fue esa historia del
We were
Centro
there-
Legal de la Raza?
Okay, because of the third world strike, the numbers of people admitted to the University of California, Berkeley Law School increased. So I came in with 21 people. 21s and it was the first Chicana, the first ever. And that would admit it anyway. I suspect I snuck a few others in just no matter what they didn't say it. People at UC Berkeley in general that I know of, the list that I know of is a woman named Lillian Trillo. And I interviewed her for my book as well. And that was just right after the School of Public Health opened, and she was a nurse, and she got her degree. But in other areas, there weren't admissions. And with the law school, it was 21. And of those 21, we all pretty much believed in the community and having the community receive justice, even though we didn't know exactly what we were into, but we divided up into areas that we thought were important. So draft counseling was important. The housing was important. People being able to start their businesses were important. There were a number of different projects, the law students, those 21. There were, before that one class, there were, I think, 8 other students. So maybe at the most we had 28 Chicano law students. And what would happen is on the campus itself, at the building where it used to be called Bolt Hall, we took over room 19. So we helped each other get through the first year of law school and get through and do other things in the community at the same time. And I tried to get involved with the, just like I had been with Santa Barbara, with the students organizing. And by that time, there was a split between a group. There was Mecha, and then there was Frente, and then they were not working with each other as students, but there were other people, like a person named Larry Trujillo, who I think he was in the criminal justice program, and he just pulled his arms up and he said, whatever I can do to help you, I'll do. And he helped so many students get through. Eventually, there was a Raza recruitment program that was set up that also had a lot of impact on people. So people, let's see, the predecessor of, what's her name? Gallegos. Yeah, Angel.
No.
Yeah, Angela. Both, she and her sister were both at Dorothy, but the one that is now in charge of the other program, she was like the Larry Trujillo of that day, which is I would go all the way back to about
Guadalupe. Lupe
Guadalupe.
Lupe Gallegos.
Lupe. Yeah, I have a lot of admiration for all that she's done and all that she's done, because that's what it took to survive at Berkeley. You couldn't survive if you didn't have somebody to help you.
Yeah.
And as a faculty member, I can also tell you, if you don't have anybody to help you, you don't survive.
Yeah.
No. And that was later. And we could talk about the Berkeley faculty all you as much as you like.
Pero ¿cómo se reunieron? Entonces cuéntenos, ¿cómo se reunieron cómo decidieron que en vez de ayuda particular deberían tener un centro para atender las necesidades legales de la población?
Bueno,
¿Cómo fue eso?
Había un estudiante que estuvo, un estudiante en he was in San Jose. So he graduated from San Jose. San Jose State was very active. It was actually 1968. They had a graduation. They had a Chicano graduation. I came in 69, but they're already organized. So this movement that I'm talking about, this is about what Malaquias was involved with. It was like a seismic. It was like a seismic shake, and the Fruitvale was one of the epicenters. And that student came to the Flatland of Oakland, and they said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And there were people in the schools and in the community that said, yeah, let's do it. So there were surveys that were done, there were things. And of course, it showed that people had no access. So access is what I became, access to healthcare, to make things more humanitarian, more in keeping with our needs, because people weren't getting the needs taken care of. So it wasn't very hard to find people happy. You have to first convince people that you're for real. You're not just a student out there just, to tell them what to do because you're a student. You had to earn your stripes. So we'd have people that come in. We'd have, for example, cons. They weren't the ones that were in the community all the time, but you were tested every single day. And then there were people that were just saying, I don't think you can do it, but give it a try. And it just turned out that we did it. And we didn't know what we couldn't do. And we didn't have all the tools that we needed, and we didn't have any of the support from the faculty at the school. They never came out, ever. So we had two or three lawyers that were in the community that worked with us. And we got involved more and more in the point. Yeah. Of course, up and down, but it kept going.
Sí. ¿Y cómo fue su primera cliente, vamos a decir así? No es cliente, pero la primera persona que utilizó los servicios o sea, las primeras. ¿Cómo fue?
Bueno,
si hay una anécdota de alguien.
Yo creo, primero para una clínica, there was a clinic, there was a well child clinic. Okay, so the county is doing well child exams anyway. So we said, come and do them here. We have space for you. So they came. The children came. But they were never well. It took 2 hours. They were sick. So then we went to talk to people at Children's Hospital. So then there were doctors at Children's Hospital that said, well, since that's the situation, we'll do more. Then eventually we got some of those, when they finished their residency, and they came and worked for us. Especially three pediatricians came and just directly worked with us. 2 of them were conscientious objectors. They came because there was either go to jail as a war resistor, or go someplace where you can have a conscious objector service approved, and we were able to get approved to do that.
Ah.
And I want to come back to that when you get to it. I don't know that people are aware that the draft is back, that by December of this year, based on the awful law that Trump passed, selective service is coming back fully. So everyone that's 18 is going to go to the draft this year, 2026. We had the draft back then, 1971, 72, 73, being sent to Vietnam. So here we are again. That's where we were. So we got conscious objectors. I was a conscious objector. David Hayes Bautista, who I was going this our Chicano Boom book. He's a co-author. I have a few dog ears in there. He was a conscious objector. There were six of us. Roberto Vargas, he was a conscious objector. So we said we are not going to go to anywhere else and kill. We'd rather serve our community. And so that was one population. And the other population really was Planned Parenthood. A lot of the women started coming to the clinic because to get service in Planned Parenthood. And it's the same thing there. I said, well, there are these services, but these women need more than that. What can you do so that more women can be served? So we went looking for more resources to do that, and eventually we set up a women's clinic. And the same thing happened with dental, and it's it goes on and on. You know what I mean? Little by little.
Permítame interrumpirle, porque yo sé que las dos cosas van juntas, pero mi pregunta era en la creación del Centro Legal de la Raza, porque tengo entendido que así comenzaron, ¿verdad?
Yo dejé el Centro Legal de la Raza, otra gente quedó allí y yo me fui a la clínica. Y es solamente yo.
Ok. Entonces usted ayudó a comenzar el Centro Legal de la Raza y luego se fue a la clínica.
Y sí, hubo un comité que estaba, estaban bien informados acerca de las necesidades médicas y de allí vino la idea de empezar una clínica. Y mi respuesta era como su abogado, pero estudiante, you're crazy. It's the most complex thing, and how can you do that? And they said, we don't care, we'll try, and we did. And well, I can talk more about the complexities that followed, but people came out of the woodwork. People in the community started coming to say, we'd like this, we'd like that. We had some people say they were druggies, for example, and even they would ask for, I need a get sober pill. We don't have a get sober pill, but if you consider this and that, that was, we started looking at the needs there. There were abused children. And so we started a mental health program, specifically started first, like trying to have the police not be the ones that will call to a home to be the first contact when there was child abuse. It was a serious problem, so even the doctors, and they have to report, it's a mandatory reporting. And so the idea is give mental health workers an opportunity to talk to the family, see what unity or what there is that can be done constructively rather than just locking up the father, for example, and taking him out of the house or breaking up the family. And that was happening. So little by little, things like that began to happen.
Y bueno, ya que entramos en materia de la clínica de la raza, sí, la clínica de la raza. Entonces, ¿cómo fue que se reunieron cómo es el papel de usted con el señor, no sé si Castro estuvo de comienzo, pero él estará en el libro también.
Sí.
Y Hayes Bautista, ¿cómo se conocieron? ¿Cómo se
Hayes
reunieron?
Bautista era el primer director.
Ajá.
Él se fue a UCSF, a la escuela de medicina. Y mucha gente, mucha gente que como la escuela de ley tenía un grupo, también la escuela de medicina tenía un grupo. Se llamaban CHE,
Ah,
Chicanos in Health Education. Pero en otros lugares, y no nomás en San Francisco, estaba pasando lo mismo.
sí.
So, el movimiento pues, era por todo el estado. Y empezaron they started knocking on the door. Knock the door down. We want in. And why aren't we getting in? So there were little changes, but there were changes. And those people that went in would come to the community also with the same idea, do service in the community. And they did. And so, for example, the School of Optometry, we had 2 optometrists come out to the community on a regular basis. And I started an optometry clinic. So we built a building for optometry. And then dental. There were some dentists that wanted to help out in the community, and they came. There's a place that they could find that they felt comfortable and the community felt comfortable going to. And this was happening in the Fruitville, but it was happening in a lot of other places, including throughout Alameda County, but throughout the state. And so the community health center movement began to come up and assert its power, assert its that it lives, it exists, and it can do something, and it showed it can do, and in a number of areas.
¿Tiene alguna anécdota de cuando se fundó la clínica? ¿Alguna anécdota que todavía recuerda?
Es como de
¿Anécdota, alguna ocasión donde hubo algo que fuera muy doloroso, que fuera muy chistoso o que les hiciera repensar?
bueno, mm, de repensar nunca.
Ajá.
Nadie que se estaba reuniendo a pesar de que no tenía un sueldo que era adecuado. We were not, we didn't have money. We didn't have that much money, but whatever money we had, we divided it as equally as possible. So people had something to work with, and that was enough to live on at that time. Okay. Um, we had one situation with the dental where a person in the community did dental, dental supply person, and he found a dental office that was closing, and they were willing to donate all their dental equipment to us. Okay. Well, before that happened, the, the wrecking ball came. They came and they destroyed the building with everything, all the dental equipment in it. Okay. It was gone. Okay. Well, we thought, well, that's it for now. Well, out of nowhere, then we started getting offers for all new equipment. And we just had to have a place to put. So we then got space for, like I said, dental optometry. We got a building. There was a pastor who retired. I think the church was going to go away. It was scraped. There wasn't a church there, but the property was available. He said, I'll give you the property if you can build something on it. So starting out as a law student, then I, along with others, but especially I had to learn all kinds of other things. I like property law, for example. I didn't have a problem with that, but I'd never done development of a building. I've never had to supervise that alone. So I learned. I had to learn, and we all. That's the way it's been. It was with everybody, and we had Jane, for example. There's all kinds of things that we had to learn about that we didn't think we'd ever have to learn about, and still be activists. We still didn't. We were still doing it for the purpose of changing the reality that was not. At least it was not hospitable, but more than that, it wasn't. Wasn't humanitarian. We were in facing the lack of service. We had a lot of women that we had a program called the WIC program, Women, Infant, and Children program. So they would come to us to get the written vouchers, so they would take the vouchers. But that was enough. You have to have really have to have a perinatal program. Have a program that will take care of them while they're pregnant, and that will take care of the child when the child is born. So we had to create one. We created one. And we not only created one, but I guess I'll go further. The program we created, we wound up combining a fund that had never been used with together with Medi-Cal. So we combined Medi-Cal and that fund to be able to see women, and these were mostly undocumented women. And we found one hospital at that time on Pill Hill. Now, there used to be 3 hospitals on Pill Hill, right over by Kaiser. There used to be 3. Providence was the Catholic hospital. So they would allow us to have delivery privileges. We found one doctor that would deliver. That's all we needed. No, that's how it happened. And right now, I think it's Sutter. It used to be 3. It was the Providence, Sutter, and Merritt. Yeah, there were 3 hospitals.
Oh.
So in every case, what it takes is you have to talk to a lot of people. And we didn't have the phones, and we didn't have as much of it. Was you had to talk face to face constantly. And my nickname at home used to be Junta Joél. Where's Junta? What's going? Stand on a Junta. That's the way it is now. You can talk to people and you relate in a different way. And without going into a lot, that raises some concerns for me right now, because a lot is going into AI and doing mental health service on the phone and on the screen and like that, and the human element was hurting. So the human element was very important for us in terms of that you had to meet with people in person, face to face, and you don't get as much of a chance to do that anymore. Mine help, but by doing that, things built up. Then there were other communities, especially in Alameda County. So you're just gonna let me talk all you want. They had the same needs we had. So there's a clinic, health needs. There's a clinic in Berkeley called Over 60s Clinic, and it was organized by a group called the Gray Panthers. Okay, so they're older people that had the mentality of not accepting things as they were, and to challenge them straight up. We work with them, and they began to grow. It eventually included other people. So eventually it's become lifelong health services. So I've heard of lifelong. It started with over 60s. And then there was another clinic in West Berkeley. And there was a clinic in East Oakland. There was a federal clinic. The only federal clinic for a while that was funded was in West Oakland. And since they had federal grant money, they were like, well, we're the big major leagues, you're the minor leagues, that type of thing. There was a clinic in Pleasanton, and there was a clinic in Fremont. They called themselves Tri-Cities. Asian Health Services, Native American Health Services. It was like I said, it was like ground zero. It was like we were sitting right on the seismic fault, and people were just helping each other. So and this is what I think is important as the Chicano movement is its concern, is that we never held ourselves to be the major league and you're in the minor league, so figure it out yourself. We said, this is how we did it. We planned and we did, and here's how you consider doing that. And the funding wasn't very wasn't prolific at all. It wasn't like there was funding everywhere. There was the smaller amounts, but then people put it together, and the whole county had clinics. And so then the clinics came together and they formed a consortium. And it still exists also. And they had, I don't know what
There was
what
the,
anniversary, not long ago.
there was cuando se unieron la Clínica y San Antonio.
Well, that was interesting because we were already there's a whole thing about funding. What we did all these things as La Clínica without federal funds. Okay, now what happened is that the person, the doctor who was going to start San Antonio, had an in with somebody that did have a connection to federal funds, and they were going to get the federal funds. So we got together. We said the federal funds have to go to both. Yeah, to agree with us, went to both. So at that point, San Antonio, not right away, but not very much longer, San Antonio and La Clínica came together. And that's how La Clínica has so many multiple sites. It includes San Antonio.
Y entonces San Antonio existía antes de la creación de la clínica.
No, después de La Clínica, pero empezó de nuevo, pero querían que los fondos
Se compartían.
fueran nomás para San Antonio. Y nosotros dijimos, no, no es nomás. Sí, van a participar aquí en esta parte de Fulvio San Antonio, tienen que ser para los dos. Y pusieron de acuerdo. Pero eso no fue, se tuvo que enfrentar. Es confrontational.
Había rivalidad.
Yeah, pero en San Francisco las oficinas federales no, bueno, se creían como que mandaban mucho. Empezaron las clínicas con la atención a áreas rurales. So, migrant health centers. Ese era de Kennedy. Robert Kennedy era muy aparte de eso. Y entonces después en Neighborhood Health Centers era parte de la OEO, de las guerra contra la pobreza, war on poverty. But there weren't that many clinics at first. And then it started to grow. And then they started to see that there were more health centers and they put in federal funds. And now there are, I think, about 11,000 federal sites and about close to 2,000 different organizations that are federally funded. In California, there must be, I think right now, we're seeing like about 6.5 million people a year throughout the state in community health centers. And I think that's over 1,200 clinics. It's a lot of clinics.
Muy interesante. Eso no lo sabíamos. Dígame una cosa. Entonces, usted ya más o menos lo nombró. ¿Cómo fue? Porque todos esos fueron años muy agitados donde los Black Panthers y el movimiento sociales de como movimiento chicano, movimiento de Union Farm Workers, estaban trabajando y todo el mundo estaba dedicado a una causa. Entonces, ¿eso cómo influyó? ¿Cómo influyó?
Había organizaciones. There were a lot of different organizations, and Black Panthers were very much their strongest and their most expertise, and I respect it a lot, was really their cultural, political impact through the media. They would march, they would demand, they would confront, and then, of course, they got a huge backlash. So if you're going for, let's say, that was the FBI then, was in particular was after them. But if you're confronting power and they don't want you to confront them, you got to fight that. You can't do services at the same time as you're confronting them as much. the ones in the Black Panther part that did the services were the women. Women set up the breakfast programs. They set up the food programs. They set up the clinics. There was once a George Jackson Community Clinic off of where is Martin Luther King now, Martin Luther King Jr. It lasted about 3 or 4 years, but then it did. So they were active in a different way, and they did a lot. And I think in the Chicano community, there were groups. There were Black Panther, there were Brown Berets, but not that many. And there was a Revolutionary Youth Party that that again were making a lot of statements, but didn't have service programs per se. They were really trying to just shake up the system. In Fruitville, there were other organizations that were involved with economic development, with kind of keeping. There's a group called Colmejas that was very active in getting newspaper information out about movements throughout the world that affected the politics of the area quite a bit. There was another organization that was involved with Narcotics Education League. It was involved with basically dealing with drug problems that were affecting the Chicano community a lot. And there were some information centers. For example, the Spanish-speaking Unity Council, it was more an economic development and construction of buildings. That's what they were into. But we got along together. There was a little bit of friction sometimes. For example, when we started La Clínica, Unity Councils wouldn't give us wouldn't give us equipment that we were hoping to get typewriters, or we'd get a filing cabinet or something. And they said, well, no, you guys can kind of prove yourselves first. Okay. So we proved ourselves. And then afterwards, we were together. There were educational groups, Comité Educativo, for example, and they'd been organizing for a long time. And they began a organization called Centro Educativo. And they also had a program that our kids were in that dealt with preschool. Centro Infantil de la Raza. And so there was movement on all levels at that time. And then there was the cultural and levels that were going on. There were regular every summer there was a Dia del Barrio, and I think like Sheila E. And before the Escobedos became as well known, they're performing there. I'm not sure about Tower of Power. I think Tower of Power performed one time, but there was a lot of celebration, a lot of good joy. And there were also groups that were organized around police brutality. There was a young man named Benavides, and he was shot. Basically, he was a shotgun shot to the head. So, Mario Benavides. So there was a lot of organizing around that. Then, and the people that were involved with service were also involved with groups that were involved with that. Then we had one after another ballot measure against us. 187, Proposition 13. Proposition 187, I think you know about, do you?
Yeah.
They were trying to take everything away. This was it was then ex-Governor Wilson, who graduated from Berkeley, by the way. Shame on him. He thought, just like Trump did this time, that attacking immigrants and attacking undocumented would be the political means to get ahead.
Yeah.
So he tried that. That was what 187 was all about. Then 209, anti-affirmative action. Then Proposition 13, Jarvis Scan Initiative. That was a huge one in that in 1978, the financing about how much the state pays and how much the county pays. So they took away through that tax money on property that was going to the county. So the county then had to turn to the state, and the clinics had to turn we're in the middle of all that to keep from being defunded. If they're being funded by the county wasn't going to fund anymore, then they're in trouble. So we were able, through the movimiento, again, we were able to intervene with the out of nowhere $4 billion. They forgot it existed, and then they found it. So Governor Brown, remember Governor Brown, the first Governor Brown, he sort of saved the day. But then there's all the politics about how to distribute that, and the way that happened, the way it turned out, is that the community health centers were already organized well enough statewide that we could affect and influence the people at the state level who were elected. There weren't a lot of Latina legislators at that time, but there were some, and they were sympathetic. And then out of Alameda County, we had an ex supervisor, Tom Bates, who later also became the mayor of Berkeley. He, I, I mean, he just turned his office over to me. When when they were gathering and they were marching, all that, he said, "There you go. You you use that phone. You call whoever you want." And so we organized to keep the worst from happening. But we knew that the counties were still, under the state law, were responsible for healthcare. And we said, if you have that, then the state has to also fund the community health centers.
Mm.
So that was a big blow. Big. It would have been a big blow if they'd taken all that away. Before all that had happened, I'll just throw in one other thing I didn't mention. We had again about identity. Identity was real important. Free clinics, community clinics didn't exist legally. They were just, there's a little bit. So we rewrote the licensure laws. And the trade-off there was the licensure laws that included the clinics, the health centers, especially the community health centers, in a way that made sense to us in return for Medicaid. Before that, Medicare, Medicaid was not going to the clinics. So that changed things a lot. But that was as a result of our advocacy, both as health centers throughout the state, as well as organizations such as our consortium that was able to go as clinics in the county that were nonprofit and affect the policy. And we were lucky at that time to have Secretary of Health and Welfare that listened to us, and he went with us, and we were able to come up with a formula that made sense. Yeah.
Bueno, ya hemos hablado de muchas organizaciones que estaban en contacto. Entonces, ¿cómo fue que, o sea, en medio de tantas organizaciones que tenían que ver con la salud de la población latina, cómo fue que la clínica se convirtió en un lugar como ¿cómo se dice? Un lugar que todo el mundo sabe y reconoce, como un landmark? ¿Cómo fue que la clínica fue convirtiéndose en un lugar donde la gente iba a buscar salud, tanto las comunidades, porque en un momento se absorbieron también las comunidades afroamericanas, ¿verdad? Y otras comunidades como los filipinos, como más. Entonces, ¿cómo fue esa transformación?
En todas esas clínicas, la mayoría de la mesa directiva tenía que ser paciente. Y había programas habían peleas a veces, habían de muchas formas. And they would communicate that they were welcome there, and they would be able to govern it as well. It wasn't just that we showed up and what do you need, and you are willing to put in the time to be on the board and direct our health center. That's what we want. And so that they maintain credibility throughout all of that.
¿Y cómo los cogían los de board? ¿Que le decían a cualquier paciente o tenía que tener un perfil?
No tenían que tener nada de, bueno, no era
Experiencia.
requisito educativo.
Ajá.
Entonces no tenían que tener. Es conocimiento y en realidad conocimiento de la comunidad donde ellos estaban viviendo. Y si mostraban eso, con eso podían seguir. Entonces, como nosotros que estábamos aprendiendo, como íbamos de paso a paso,
Ajá.
ellos también aprendían paso a paso. Y a veces levantaban, demandaban. y we want this service, that service. For example, with Asian Health Services in Chinatown, they had their offices in Chinatown, and one of the biggest problems they had in Chinatown was that people were getting hit by cars, and that was a health problem. Really, it wasn't just a problem of a narrow kind. It's more than that. And so they were able to mobilize to talk to the city council and the people that were running the city as to what they wanted. And they changed it so it became more regulated. I think they have cross streets now that are much safer than before. That's an example. And in a way, that's a result of work that the clinic did, Asian Health Services. But there were other Asian groups that existed that they have relationships. So there were coalitions there as well.
Mm.
So it met the needs of not just what you see in a patient that enters the clinic, but in their everyday lives, like in their communities. Is there another example of that as well? That's really
Oh,
interesting.
well, definitely. The pandemic wasn't new. That would happen. It's happened before. The viruses, they've been
Pero, o sea,
other.
de-
It wasn't
de-
COVID. It wasn't COVID, but it happened before, and everybody knew then that it didn't matter who you were, that you're going to be affected if you didn't do something. So they would have to specialize in programs that would get to that need. And in La Clinica's case, from what I wasn't at La Clinica at that time. They knew how to respond well to that, and they did well.
Mm.
I forgot to mention the name of the person. Mario Olmos was the person that worked with Governor Brown on the Proposition 13 Java scan that I mentioned earlier. So I'm sorry, I forgot to mention his name. But that was very important. Mario was a lawyer who had been the head of the MALDEF, Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. And he was open and he was knowledgeable and he just hammered it down beautifully. Yeah, open the door for. First of all, you had that people open the door. They don't open the door, then capital.
Yeah, sí.
We've been able to. That's been not secrets, but people know that, but don't realize it. And Alameda County, more even than other counties, the other counties have followed that. Even though we had to break the door down to get into the supervisors, there were people that were willing to open it up. Tom Bates was one of the first. After that, John George, other people like that. I could go through the names, but as it changed, the health centers always had the door open to you. You know, when you come, you want to talk to people, and it's not just your words are important, but then your concepts and the solution that you're offering has to make sense to them. And you have to understand how they're funded as well. So, yeah, in many ways, as I see myself, as I've seen myself over my careers, I was insider, outsider. Like I was always outside. I never worked. I mean, it's at the University of California. I guess I would be insider that way. But in nonprofit world, I was on the outside. but I never played down the knowledge and skills that people on the inside had. And you talk to them in a way that you don't disrespect them or put them down. Because if you do that, if you disrespect them, they're not going to do anything for you. And if they're the ones that have the decision make, they're making the decision, then you're not going to get anywhere. So we have managed to, over the years, and now the current board of supervisors, I think has changed a lot from what I saw recently, and they're very sensitive to health centers and to uh, basically the people need that we were concerned about. They haven't solved all the problems, but they don't say they come last, and they used to be last.
Um, Here is una pregunta que es, what were the biggest challenges faced by implementing La Clínica? But I wanted to change it to say that, to ask, sorry, to ask, what continue to be the biggest challenge for La Clínica de la Raza?
Ooh.
In su opinión.
The lack of willingness to have compassionate policies. Before it was always no, always just forget. So you had to be able to talk to people that were not going to stop agreeing with you, but you were able to convince them, and they were able to then do their policy making in a way that was very different from before. Alameda County, we've changed policy makers a lot without necessarily being in the inside. For example, Jane, she's she goes to the board of supervisors, and they have open arms, and there are a number of people like that that were in the Chicano or in the Chicano movement or other movements like that, because we're not nationalistic, but we're coalition building. And so, but they go and they are listened to because they have credibility, they have integrity. They've shown that they delivered. They promised they would do what they were going to do, and they did it. And if that hadn't been the case, they wouldn't be. They wouldn't continue to receive support. It wouldn't grow.
Yeah. Ahora, how was the transition? Is the number 20? How was the transition from La Clínica to the beginning to go to the Tiburcio Vasquez?
Oh, well, Tiburcio Vasquez was always involved. I was not directly then involved, but we had a coalition with 5 Chicano-oriented clinics, and Tiburcio was one of them. And so we've been familiar with Tiburcio from the very beginning, from the days in that case, the Brown Berets were the ones that made the demand for health center in the Dakota. And the Union City has a very unique history. There's a conflict line between some of the people that were identified with Brown Berets and the chief of police. And so what happened is the chief of police was shot and killed. So there's a whole different dynamic there. But the people that were involved in the Union City, they called it that Union City Health Committee. They expanded the name to Tiburcio Vasquez, and the Tiburcio Vasquez Health Center is a name that stuck. But it's Union City Health Committee / Tiburcio Vasquez Center. The same kind of philosophy that La Clínica had, they had. They wanted and the same kind of progress. The Planned Parenthood was involved in the very beginning. There were some county people that were helpful to them, and little by little they grew. They built a building on 9th Street, which they didn't think, a clinic being built wasn't going to ever happen, and it did. And I was the keynote speaker, but I wasn't inside. I was I was asked from Latinx to go there, and I didn't really get back into directly operating community health centers until 1971. I went to from La Clínica. I went to the university. From the university, they shut the door like I think trying to do to others right now. And we don't have any money. Well, where's your money? So from there, I said, go back to community health centers. And when I got there, the Tiburcio Vasquez Health Center was had gone over the edge financially. They were broke. So I was responsible trying to find a way to keep them from being closed. And then from there, we finally stabilized it. Everything was back to normal. And we got the funders by talking to, and again, this insider outsider thing was really, really important. They would listen to us. That it would be a mistake for them to pull their funds until they gave us a chance to fix whatever the financial problems were, because there were some embezzlement. There were some frauds by people in the health center themselves. So we cleaned that up. There was we moved forward with integrity and with production of services in all areas, and we kept getting more areas. We went to adolescent family, adolescent and adolescent care was really important. Uh, Adolescent Family Life Program was a program that we had, and that was with pregnant teens that were in the schools, and that grew. Then we got a WIC program, a very substantial WIC program. Then we started school-based health centers, and then we also built more clinics. So by the time that I left, I think there were like 23 sites, and I've been involved with the construction of 5 of them. So things I learned at Clínica about construction, things I would never have thought as an activist that I would have to do. I did, but I never stopped thinking of myself as an activist. An activist, it can be involved in some of the technical areas. I'm not real good with the technology. Kind of hill. Yeah. The technology is kind of ahead of me. But we had computers, but we weren't as much involved with the computers and AI as it is right now. Really willing to take off, but to be able to say that we hire people in the community, we made sure as much as we possibly could that there were students and there were people that got residencies and were able then to apply and get into medical schools. Then as people graduated from medical schools, that we were able to hire them to be medical directors and providers. We did all that. We did that with La Clínica, and Jane is very, very good. And Castro, he's out there, way out there with what he's able to do with that. He's gotten UC Santa Barbara, for example, a scholarship program going under his first cousin's name. Mayo is his first cousin, and it provides scholarships for people going into healthcare. Then he hires them. Then he keeps them in his programs until they get into medical school. Gets them through the MCAT. You have to get through that, or you don't go to it. Yeah. So we try to do that, but we weren't as successful as they have been, as Jane has been, as Castro did, and I think Luisa, who is the other person for those, she's done a lot of that as well, and she's gotten very proficient. She's an expert now in construction facilities. So, but you do that in order to change the mainstream to come to your community, to not leave out your people. That's the thing. The mainstream has to be changed so it moves towards you. Unfortunate thing, which is hard, is sometimes the mainstream, and because people that have money can put their strings on you, they want them to come towards you so they can make more money. So you have to find a balance there that get exploited that way, and you don't let your community get exploited that way. And that's hard. And the foundations have come into play in that. And that's also another thing where both Jane and Castro, they've worked very well with the big foundations. The California Endowment, for example, there are people in some of these foundations that are very tuned into what the community health centers are doing and have done. And I think now somebody like Javier Becerra, okay, he knows a lot about clinics. And his wife is a doctor, and she has a lot of knowledge about clinics, health centers, and fairly qualified health centers, which both the San Antonio clinic after merged into La Clínica, they kept finding other at the national level. There's a national association. They kept finding other levels for there to increase support. And so right now they have a bill which they're concerned about that they hope will get funded, and it's multi-billion-dollar bill for health centers. So all that time, including the Affordable Care Act. What the Affordable Care Act really is the way to keep community health centers alive to meet the needs of people.
Yeah.
So the community, ACA, the Obamacare, and California what's insurance? I shouldn't forget. I should know this. They basically have the Obamacare part in California. Money's been taken away from them. So, but the delivery infrastructure for all that really fits best the federally qualified health centers. And so it took a lot of work at the federal level, Washington, D.C., to have that come about.
¿Tienes alguna pregunta ahorita? Porque estamos terminando con este cuestionario.
I think right now would be a good time to talk more about Chicano Doom. Do you think so? Is there anything you particularly want to share or highlight, especially the
Well, the same things that you're about, yes.
¿Cómo inició la idea del Chicano Boom? ¿Cómo se inició la idea de crear un libro con ese resultado? ¿Por qué vino la idea?
Dr. David Bautista, Castro de la Rocha, and myself, Dion Montel. Well, we all got together and we said, well, the story for what we've done and in fact how we've changed the mainstream. We haven't gotten taken over by the mainstream, but there are moves more towards the mainstream by having well-established interests provide support at a different level that to community health centers. Their ability to change the mainstream has been incredible, especially with Castro, what he's done in. I think he's coming up with his own model about the integrity for that you can make money while still not leaving out the margins. See, the way I see it, we started out, and like I was saying with UCSB, but also with the community clinics, we were all free clinics. We were either in storefronts or we were in with Barrio Free Clinic. That's what it's called. Isale Barrio Free Clinic. It was out of mortuary. So it was either mortuaries or just storefronts where we started, and free clinics. We went from free clinics to community health centers defined in California law and funded by Medi-Cal. Then learning how to do managed care. And that's a whole different way that fee for service. You still have a slight EP scale, but also you get paid to have a certain outcome for a population. That's what managed care is about. So they've been able to master that. And the Alameda Health Consortium Community Health Center Network they actually developed a lot of the financial methods to be able to have that come to them. So they would have enough money to reserve. If a person had to go to a secondary care hospital, they'd have a fund that would be theirs that they could apply that. And for the primary care, then there would be another fund, and you would hope it'd be adequate to cover everything it costs for you to do services for them. So they were able to do that. But it requires federal money to keep going. If the federal money doesn't exist, or if private money, Castelo also has been very good at being able to find the way private insurance can work with the population they serve. For example, they have a program called PACE. It's a program for elderly. And the mechanisms, the funding arrangements for that are built so they don't get cut back, and they can keep the level of service to a very sensitive population, keep them out of the nursing homes.
Okay.
So if they had to go to the nursing homes somewhere a public entity had to pay for them, it couldn't afford it. Okay, so tried everything possible to keep them out of that by keeping them healthy. And so, and they've found a lot of methods to do that. So, a lot of what Chicano Boom is about is some of the things I've touched on. The thinking of the times of that we started, like there was organization, but it wasn't at a very sophisticated level before the Chicano Boom. And then we say, and then within the Chicano Boom, we're not talking about boomers per se, like the boomers generally, because boomers per se even are more part of the medical establishment and not really booming like we wanted to boom, and we've continued to boom. And by having boomed in our own way, we've used methods like things that Paulo Freire used to have. He was, considering how to educate people to live a lifestyle that is going to be a healthy lifestyle, keep people out of the emergency rooms, keep people out of the nursing homes, keep people in the care that is going to be the best for them at the least cost. And so he's found a way to do that and be able to, and so has James, and be able to prosper. And they've prospered. They've done really well. They're in, at least, I know a lot of Orange County, most of, not just East LA, but also to the north, up to Pasadena. They had one of their clinics, for example, burned down with the fire. Yeah, Altadena. Yeah. And so what it basically we're trying to do here is, you've heard my words about but was to have the words of the people. In this case, 180 people that were interviewed. Almost not. I have their own words speak for themselves about the history of and what was there. That's what Chicano Boom is all about.
¿Por qué no nos enseña el libro?
¿Mande?
Nos enseña el libro.
Oh yeah.
Enséñalo.
I have more.
Tiene que...
I have more.
Ajá.
Se me está y eso.
No,
Aquí
es
está.
para que usted lo tenga, lo tenga para que la cámara lo vea. Te está hablando con él, sí.
Y también no, esto no, this isn't just about the people that were the boomers that like, I'm getting older. I'm an elder.
Somos.
Somos, pero actualmente, presently, there are a lot of people, a lot of younger people who are working with other young people to get them to medical school. So what we really want is a medical revolution, because the percentages right now of what the population is, like in California, let's say 40%, but in community health centers throughout the whole United States, it's closer to 65% of their patients are Latinos, no matter what the background of the organization, no matter where it exists. after all the raids and after all the awful atrocities that had been done to people, to migrants, to undocumented. Despite that, before they were scared away from that, they were going to the health centers. Now we're very concerned that they may not, but I'm not sure. I hope that isn't the case. We can talk about that separately because that's I didn't want us to get stuck in what the boomers had done then, though. That's what this book is about. Why they did what they did, and that it can be done. So it's hope, and it's like not made up. And the fields of Chicano studies generally, or call it Chicanx studies or Latinx or whatever we can call it. Doesn't matter what the rhetoric exactly is, as far as I'm concerned right now. But how we can keep that fervor and revolutionary medicine health care going is what's important, and making the numbers change. Because if they don't change, like it was for us, we would have liked to have 3 Chicano conscientious objector pediatricians come and stop us. You got whoever was willing to do it, and there are a lot of people that are willing to do it, and there are a lot of people still willing to do it. Just like Minnesota, people that were, well, some people, I had a conversation. They said, well, people that were showing up with the hippies. Well, all right, call them what you want, hippies, whatever. They're people that had principles, that believed in, what's right, that had bad consequences to protect people that couldn't protect themselves because of these armed thugs, this Gestapo, whatever you want to call it. So peer assistance is growing. That's very big. So the protector side, as well as the starting, getting it off the ground, is important, and even more important than ever before. And I think I read in what you wrote about the convergence of time of the what was it, Easter and
of the 3 religions.
Right, the religions, and now for the Antichrist to go after the Pope.
Yeah.
Okay, that tells you something very profound, that this immorality has to be defeated.
Yeah.
And so we believed that then in certain ways, but it was not, we weren't trying to draw attention to ourselves. We weren't saying, read our words and we write it down, and we have our diaries and we have our books to read, that but we have to before we're gone. And so that was what this was. 180, 90 people that said why they were involved and how they were involved. So just appreciate that, to know that, and it was against odds. It was against, like what I said, when I told them, you'd be crazy to do a health center, to do health. Well, they weren't. They said they're committed. They were going to do it. They weren't crazy. They were motivated. So the young people and people have always just right now being motivated to protect the most vulnerable amongst us. That humanitarian instinct is really important. And among religions, I won't say a lot about it because it's a pretty complex subject. I agree completely with you and the statement you made about it's an opportune time for all of us to come together on the morality of the times that we're in and that we're going into, and that we have to protect our children. We have to protect them, and they have to protect themselves. And how we're going to do that, I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I was still the boomer.
Yeah.
I wish I was still I mean, going to the no King's March is important, but that's not itself going to do it. More than that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But part of it is to fill in that gap, like you're trying to do with the project overall, to fill in that gap with what things were done and why they were done, is what this book was about. And it was just, well, it has to be done because we don't want a gap. And so the UCLA library, they have a project that all the interviews are part of, just like I'm sure with yours.
Yeah.
Here at Berkeley, you grab that,
Yeah.
and it's there for people to be able to learn from or read or whatever. Know who the people were. Knowing who they were is important. They'll always tell you the why they did what they did,
Yeah.
and then that's what I want to do,
Yeah.
and that's what I did with. That's what we're doing also with Malaquias and the art exhibit. And what was it? But this one, Fruitvale, Espíritu de Fruitvale.
Sí.
Yeah.
This is the other books that talk about la Clínica.
That one's about all the I touched on some of the organizations mentioned the library, the Dia de los Muertos, Dia de los Muertos. Also, we've had now.
Las celebraciones, sobre todo.
Well, they have Dia de los Muertos on the street itself on East 14th International, but also the 33 years running. We had a community celebration at the Oakland Museum, California.
Yeah.
So that kind of spirit is very much alive. It talks a little bit also, I think, about, I don't know if it talks about police brutality. We still have to do that, leave that. And we're hoping we won't have the police brutality through ICE. That's what it's really about now. So to tell you that we can do it, yes, I'm here to do that, and the book's here for you to read about and do.
Sí. Queríamos, bueno, mientras usted busca ahí, me gustaría hacer una pregunta que es, si usted tuviera, y por eso estaba diciendo que, bueno, usted dice que no es Chicano Boom, pero todavía para nosotros usted es muy, muy boom. Entonces, si tuviera que pasar por crear un centro de salud todavía, ¿cómo se presentan las oportunidades y cómo se presentan los obstáculos para la creación de, si usted tuviera que comenzar, tuviera...
Sí, es más alta,
Sí.
mucho más complicado que la idea que una organización no lucrativa pudiera hacer las cosas cuando la realidad es que del nivel federal están amenazando organizaciones que se dedican a hacer los cambios que hicimos. Así es que no va a tener exemption, tax exemption, that we could do it with tax exempt nonprofit. Y entonces todo lo que está pasando con la tecnología, cómo controlar la tecnología, cómo no es que no entendemos pero tenemos que ser tiene que ser propio y tiene que tener control sobre eso. La falta de controlar el futuro es lo que más me preocupa. Y empezando Clínica Nueva, ha empezado. La última que se empezó fue Luisa, ¿verdad? Que yo participé. Yo fui en el Herrick Hospital, y usamos a la directora que era doctora Carmen Nevares. Le dijimos a Alton Bates que que si no hacían eso era lo que hicimos en términos legales, corporate abandonment, de que si no saben la historia de ese hospital es que es el hospital que todas las personas Afro-American women, las mujeres, iban a dar parto porque no querían que fueran Alton Bates.
Sí.
Esa es la historia. Y que no hicieran lo que queríamos con la comunidad en general, incluyendo afroamericanos y los mexicanos, latinos, etcétera, que sería un problema. Y consideraron, Sutter Health consideró, claro, ¿ok? Se tiene que buscar recursos porque todo está muy caro. Al momento de Street Level Health Center, por ejemplo, no sé si han
Sí. Damos.
que fue Juan, no sé, apellido, Juan.
Juan Herrera.
Juan Herrera escribió acerca, él estaba trabajando ahí y la persona que estaba encargada trabaja por el condado, la conozco muy bien y el esposo, pero de empezar de nuevo y sin recursos, casi como empezamos, es muy más difícil todavía más que antes. No hay programas para planear un nuevo servicio. Menos y menos, se están reduciendo.
Sí.
Mm,
Bueno, y de facto que el gobierno está pidiendo a las clínicas que digan quiénes son los pacientes y la información, todo para ver quiénes son documentados y
exacto.
ilegales.
Tienen
Y
control
cuando,
de los datos.
sí,
Tienen toda la información con Doge. Esa fue
se
la
fue.
semana que presentamos la primera vez que estuvo Roberto y estuvo David.
Sí,
Era una semana que había empezado
el
con todo eso. Y ahora, más de año, peor, porque han hecho más daño, mucho más daño.
sí,
¿Cómo deshacer ese daño? How to fix what they've done and how to start something new to do that is going to be more difficult. But we have to draw the line somewhere, somehow. And I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but it has to happen.
Yeah.
And if it's a Pope coming beating him up, it's okay. Okay,
Sí.
Pope beats him up.
Sí.
But figuratively, I mean, it isn't a thing of rationality because all of this is irrational. All this thing is being led by people who are insane, literally insane and extremely violent and vicious. I don't want to. I didn't intend to get a lot into the rhetoric about the situation, but the extremity is
Sí.
is great. It's just the greatest it's ever been. Even when we were some things that we're holding on to, they haven't taken, but they're trying.
Yeah.
And is there anything in particular that has been done to be as, as best able to preserve what you guys have achieved and established?
Well, I think the things that we did in particular with 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 the play with the whatchamacallit, with preventing the spread of the virus. That was very significant. But and if we had another virus, I don't know what would happen. I hope not. It, it's a scary situation, definitely.
Yeah, it is.
But they responded. The community clinics, a group like La Familia isn't a clinic per se, but they got
It's
information.
mental health.
They had a lot of. They did a lot, and I don't want to be pessimistic. I think right now we're in a position of just holding our own as much as we can. To start anew right now, the way things are being stacked against us is very difficult. Not impossible.
Not impossible.
Not impossible. But you have to believe that you can do it somehow.
That's
Casi se va a morir, pero we keep going, porque todavía tenemos sus cámaras.
okay.
Que vas a morir. Pues.
Sí, no, ya estamos terminando, ya estamos terminando.
Dignity model that Gus was working on. I haven't talked to him about it, but I want to see how the competitive. The private sector is going to be competitive, so we have to convince them that they do things in their interest, even if it costs them some money, but it's in their interest for the dignity of the people that we're working with, and the trust, and and to know what the truth really is. That's hard. Electorally, electoral politics, I haven't gotten into at all that much. Policymakers, yes. I mean, good policy, uh, uh, ethical policy, always. But we still have to convince people that's what they need to do. So ethical policy in relation to undocumented, in relation to the needs of our people, just is stronger than ever.
And it has to be
Right.
reinforced.
Reinforced.
Yeah, that's the key word.
Absolutely.
And just to finish, we have seen many our future generation. Here we have a future professionals with us. Brian Adler and Sammy Diana Villaseñor.
And your fields are
Majoring in global studies and minoring in journalism. So okay, global studies.
yeah, good.
I'm minoring in journalism, so I'm hoping to go get into community activism, documentary film.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also,
I plan to go to medical school next and become a physician. Not particularly set on a specific specialty yet, but I was mentioning to Dr. Mantini-Briggs earlier that I would love a program that offers MPH, MD, dual degree. So public health is something. Yeah,
yes,
public health is something.
there is some UCSF. I got students at UCSF also have public health, and I think that's very important. Have you taken the MCAT, or are you planning to?
Yes, I took the MCAT last summer. But I'm planning to take a gap year before I apply. Just work
And then you apply
save
through
money.
as many as you can.
Yes.
How many?
Oh, probably I would say around like 20. Yeah.
A lot of work.
Help you hit as many of them as you can. I hope you get one that you really want.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very important. And I'm trying to think of there is a online. I'm trying to think of the name of the online service that is trying to get undergraduates and other people motivated to apply to medical school.
Yeah.
Prepare for the MCAT.
Yeah. It was definitely, especially the MCAT, I feel like was a daunting task. And I feel like is an initial obstacle for young students, like undergrads, that makes you like second guess it because you're like, not only do I have to, do well in these challenging classes, but then I have to prove it again by taking this very daunting test. But I think it's also just a matter of like confidence. That's what my dad always told me. He's like, it's self-doubt is like the worst thing that you can do.
That's right.
So just have trust and see, and why not try?
Yeah.
Yeah. The question is now those brand new professionals, are confronting all of these realities. And like Chicano once said that there are, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but let's say hypothetically that for every, I don't know, 60% of people in California can be Latinos, but only they have a low 5% of people are doctors, Latinos doctors.
Same thing with lawyers too. Lawyers very bad.
Lawyers. And don't say about global study.
Global studies.
and journalism.
Journalism is suffering.
Yeah.
Journalists are, to tell the truth, who's telling the truth? You don't know anymore. Deep fakes and just all the reels. You can't tell which one is AI, artificial intelligence anymore. You don't be. It's just cluttering everything up.
More and more sophisticated.
I was gonna say for Chicano Boom, there was something that Carlos told me, but his family said, "Que eres bueno pa nada." That he'd heard that a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
And so what Chicano boom is the total opposite. Es
Somos
bueno
buenos
para todo.
para todo.
And even if somebody like when I was the law student said, "You're crazy to go after the help," go after it anyway. I mean, go after. I call it revolutionary medicine. Go after it. You know, we all have to be healers in our own way with our own specialty, and use all the tools that are for that, but never in a way that it marginalizes or excludes. And that's what it's all about. We started in many ways at the margins. We're not at the margins, but we're sort of moving into changing the mainstream. But the mainstream keeps trying to reject us. And so, how do we deal with that? I don't know right now. Definitely, electoral politics is part of it, but the disillusionment with the with electoral politics is very great. I mean, the government hates itself. The Republicans and MAGA hate government. They hate themselves. But that isn't all they hate. They hate the social welfare state. Anything that is compassionate, anything that involves empathy. Empathy is not part of what government is about. And we can't let that happen. Empathy is what government is about. Empathy. Empathy, equality, preventing inhumanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just also build off of how you're saying that, everything you guys have built is at risk and the services that you provide our people is at risk. They are taking so many different avenues also in terms of the future of our people, especially even just applying to grad school or medical school, obviously super expensive, and they're putting in new.
It's super expensive. And they changed the the terms on who and why you get in.
And a limit on how many unsubsidized loans you can take out, so you have to take on your schooling bills in a private loan.
The loans are killers. They're just people with $200,000 in loans. Like I'm talking to them. I go, you can't. How can you do that? You can't live. No way.
Yeah, there's.
I think you gave for Uribe a title. I think I don't know if you wanted to do it. I was going to suggest uh, uh, a lack of a life of building resistance to inhumanity.
That's the title of the book.
No, I'm suggesting you put on your for Uribe. You put a tab on yours for service to serving people. So I was suggesting a title that my life of building resistance to inhumanity. That's what I dedicated my life to.
Is it something that you wrote?
No, I just I'm
Ya lo está creando
I'm
ahorita.
suggesting. No, I'm just suggesting for the interview.
The title on the website.
if you wanna do that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sí, entonces puedes anotarlo acá también. Bueno, lo puedes anotar ahí.
I would have put conscientious. I would put conscientious resistance, but it's too long. And the conscientious part really has to do with being a conscientious objector to not only war, but all the well, I'll call them pendejadas of the right. Conscientious objector to that. All of that. War is included very, very prominently, but love. I mean, people talk about love, and I think we had the first one. Radical love was a term used, but love doesn't mean like romantic love. It means the love that one has to resist and to build and to it's a positive positive love that goes on. I think Greeks had a number of different shades of the definition. So there, but I think I'm trying to think what the right term is. But the love that resists hate is the love that we have to have. And so I'm going with Bad Bunny.
Okay. But that's new. Pero no puede repetir el título exacto que tiene ahí. Ajá.
A life of building resistance to inhumanity. Dedicated my life to that. That's the way I see it. And there's been expenses. And it's one of those things. I don't know if it's you still taking.
That's the one now.
No, it's here.
Oh, okay. Wherever it's that it's an intensity and it can cause burnout. So people have to have a balance, and the balance is balance each other. A lot of times people come to leaders because nobody else will do it. So, I guess I have to do it. You do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we all have to step up whether we want to or not, and share the burden because it's a heavy burden, and if it isn't shared, it'll do people in.
Bueno, esto ha sido como un roller coaster de la historia. Estábamos subiendo, bajando, bueno, qué interesante.
I do believe in that history can repeat itself, good and bad. It's
Es la frase,
it's
a veces como tragedia y a veces como comedia.
mhm.
Es la frase de Marx.
Yeah, I see it.
Sí. Bueno, qué bueno. Entonces cortamos ya la grabación. Ay, Dios mío.
A ver si les sirve, ojalá para que
Va a servir, no le quepa la menor duda.